Hello everyone, welcome back to Benny's Battlecast. Today I just wanted to do a more relaxed video reflecting on the big fight this past weekend. As you might have seen on the channel or on my Instagram account, I was there during fight week as a member of the press and I was able to go to the stadium and watch the fight with my dad. And after all the health issues I've had and are still ongoing, this was something really special for me and it's something I really needed. About a month ago, I wasn't even really able to leave the house for more than 20 minutes. So to be able to go to Wembley for 4 days and hang out with all the press and meet all these cool people and watch the big fight was really special to me. A particularly cool moment for me was being able to say hi and get a fist bump from the former Undisputed champion Lennox Lewis with the same fist that he used to knock out Mike Tyson. So that will be the thing I get to show off to everyone for the rest of my life. It was an amazing week being surrounded by all these people I look up to and have watched on TV for years was really surreal and really special. And it's something I'm looking to carry on a lot in the future. While I didn't get any big interviews or exclusives, I got a lot of insight as to how the press works at boxing events and how it all works out. And I got some good footage for the channel, which I'll show throughout this video. So we'll go day by day, we'll talk about what happened at each event, and then we'll talk about the fight. So starting off on Wednesday, media workouts at Box Park. Now this is one of two of the fight week events that was open to the public, and they were both at Box Park, Wembley, and it was absolutely boiling in there and it was so chaotic. So how it works is you go in, you get your media wristband, and then they let you into this media area, which is basically like a big rectangle full of space where everyone sets up their cameras and films the open workouts pretty much ringside. What would happen constantly throughout these events is if there was someone famous or of note who walks past, people would always try and get an interview from them and get them to stop and talk to them, and it made for a very chaotic atmosphere. So what I did is I kind of planted myself at the back, I set up my camera, I made it as tall as possible so I could get over the top of everyone, and I filmed the open workouts. And these open workouts were quite fun. Obviously, you can't really learn a lot about how someone's actually going to fight from 2 minutes of pad work they do, but it was a great atmosphere, lots of Ukrainian fans in the building, and it was great. But a little bonus to these open workouts is they had a fight go on as well. At the open workouts for Alexander Usyk versus Daniel Dubois 2, and currently, although it's open workouts, we've got an amateur fight taking place here. So if I turn the camera, we have a look. We just got a full fight happening here. There's this 17-year-old Ukrainian amateur fighter who put on quite a good performance. It was really cool to watch a fight as close to the ring as I was. So then we moved to Thursday, the press conference. This one was media only, and it was in the stadium. So they escorted me in through the main door, they checked our bags, they gave us a wristband, and then they take us up these escalators to the Great Hall, this massive fancy conference hall, and we had the press conference in there. And you might have seen, I put out a short video just after the press conference, giving my thoughts on it. And it's interesting to see how that kind of led into the fight. Daniel Dubois, all fight week, was very angry. You could see by looking at his face, he didn't want to be there whatsoever. Not in the sense that he didn't want to fight, but that he couldn't wait to fight. He just wanted to get all the media days and fight week activities out of the way so he could go in and put on a show. And when we talk about the fight, you can definitely see that that mentality was reflected in his performance at the beginning. Then you go to Alexander Usyk at this press conference, and he was saying, "Don't push the horses," which I think people have interpreted as him being annoyed by the way Dubois and his team have been acting during the build-up to this fight. When you question a man's integrity, saying he's cheated and that he deserves an Oscar when he was hit with a low blow, that definitely made Alexander Usyk angry. And I think that also reflected in Usyk's performance in a positive way. He's so good at staying calm, being a good person, and then he's able to unleash everything in the ring. So then you go to the weigh-ins, back at Box Park, with all the fans in the room, and you could really feel the intensity as they were looking at each other for the last time before the fight. And you could tell during the weigh-ins particularly that the crowd had a lot of respect for Alexander Usyk. I knew going into this fight that Usyk was going to get a big pop from the crowd at Wembley, because during the Joshua Dubois fight, when the crowd cam went to Usyk, everyone went nuts. What I wasn't expecting is when he's against a Brit at the National Stadium, he'd still get a bigger pop. And I think that's really positive, because if you look just a few years ago, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Joshua versus Usyk, you had the Ukrainian national anthem getting booed. You had Usyk being booed as he's walking to the ring when he wins. But now people have really taken to him and really like him. And it made for one of the most positive crowd experiences I've ever been at for a boxing event. I was one of many people who was cheering for both, just looking forward to seeing a good fight and being happy for whoever wins. So now, when we move on to fight night, we can talk about those performances. In my opinion, I feel like if Daniel Dubois was going to win and become undisputed at any point, it would have been on Saturday night. And what I mean by that is he had the perfect game plan. He was doing all the right things that I said he should have been doing, pushing Alexander Usyk back, throwing combinations, being aggressive, going for an early stoppage victory. He was doing all the right things, and it made for what looked, from my seat in the crowd, to be a fairly back and forth first few rounds. But then the fighters go back to the corners, and then the screens show the replays, and then you realise Daniel Dubois was not landing. When Usyk would step or lean back and then throw that counter left hand, follow it up with the right hook, and then throw that left stab to the body, and just throw all these combinations, changing the angle, you could really see that every single thing he was throwing was landing on Daniel Dubois. And after the first few rounds, you could see that it really affected Daniel Dubois' confidence. So what would happen in these first few rounds is Daniel Dubois would start with the confidence, with the motivation. He'd go on the front foot, he'd try and put it on Alexander Usyk, and then Dubois would throw a 1-2, Usyk would step back, throw his counter left hand, change the angle, and then all of a sudden Dubois on the back foot. And this would slowly take away Daniel's confidence bit by bit, to the point where after the fourth round, they show the corners on the big screens, and my dad turns to me and says, Daniel Dubois looks upset. And he did. It looked like he'd had enough, and that he'd become the same guy who fought Usyk the first time around. So then, we're halfway through the fifth round. Daniel Dubois tries to back up Usyk into a corner one more time. Counter left hand lands right on the temple, and down he goes. By the time Daniel Dubois got up, he became careless. Threw a huge right hand, Usyk steps back, throws an overhand left that he's now called the Ivan punch, lands on Dubois clean. He's done. And when I tell you that I screamed when this happened, I almost lost my voice. I felt pretty lightheaded because of how much I'd screamed. And yeah, I was completely mind blown by what I'd just seen.
I cannot believe what I've just seen. That was so clean! Alexander Usyk!
I did say in my prediction that I thought Alexander Usyk would win a unanimous decision. But honestly, I put bets on pretty much every possible outcome for the fight, except for what actually happened. So I was very shocked, I was very surprised. I cannot say I was mad though, because what an amazing shot that was. And I think above everything, I just felt so privileged and honoured to be able to watch Alexander Usyk put on the performance he did at what looks to be the twilight of his career. Even though he says he's just getting started, I think this is towards the end. It was just amazing. I don't know what else I can say about it. And I think being around the fighters all week and seeing the build up to it just made the whole thing so much better. And as a result of this performance, there are now talks going around about Usyk not just being the best of this generation, pound for pound, which he very clearly is, but now there are talks about him being the best of all time. Now, I'd love for you guys to leave a comment. Let me know what you think of this, but I can't say I disagree. Maybe not number one of all time, but I definitely think there is a very good argument that can be made for Alexander Usyk to be top 5 heavyweights ever. Who could give him a problem? I'd say Lennox Lewis could give him a problem. Muhammad Ali could give him a problem. Mike Tyson could. Who else? Who could Alexander Usyk not beat if you talk about any heavyweight ever? Now, yes, I know styles make fights, and there's no way we could possibly get an answer to this question. But if you look at Alexander Usyk's accolades, Olympic gold medalist, 3-time undisputed champion, once at cruiserweight, twice at heavyweight. He's beaten the who's who of this generation, undoubtedly. So I don't think it's that far-fetched to put him on the list of all-time greats. And once again, I feel so privileged that I was able to see him work in real time. It's something I'll never forget. And being there as a member of the press for Fight Week is just the cherry on top. It definitely will not be the last time. I absolutely love being in those environments, working with those kinds of people, and it's just the start for me. So if you want to be a part of the journey, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave us a comment down below giving us your thoughts on this fight. What's next for Alexander Usyk? I'm hearing Joseph Parker is on the list, which I'd love. And yeah, we'll find out in the future. It's such a good time to be a boxing fan. I'm so glad that I can be here making videos about it. So thank you very much for watching. In a bit.